Langley, British Columbia happens to be an absolutely amazing place to live, but it's not for everybody. It is an expensive town and it is a busy town. A lot of people decide to head further east and make the move to Abbotsford, BC. I happen to be a real estate agent selling real estate in the Fraser Valley, and quite often people think about making that move from Langley to Abbotsford to try and get ahead and save some money. Well, in this video, we're gonna go over some of the main differences between the city of Langley, BC and Abbotsford, BC. So if you're thinking about making the move to one of those two cities, stick around and let's discuss both of these beautiful places to live. Now, as mentioned, I am a local real estate agent in the Fraser Valley. I spent a large part of my life living in Langley, BC before making the move with my family to Abbotsford, BC. So when we're gonna look at comparing the two cities, I'm not gonna hold back so that you can get the best information to make the best decision for you and your family. Now, we're gonna spend some time talking about affordability between the two cities, including what it costs to live and what neighborhood rents are. We're gonna talk a little bit about amenities and what you would use if you lived in those cities. As well, we're gonna talk a little bit about job opportunities and some of the main industries in these two cities. And last but most certainly not least, we're gonna talk a little bit about public transit and commuting in Langley, BC and Abbotsford, BC. So let's get right into it now. Now let's start the comparison off between living in Langley and living in Abbotsford, talking about affordability. Now, don't get me wrong, British Columbia is an extremely expensive place to live. Now, Langley has a lot of great perks to living in that city, which come at a price too as well. So when we look at the cost of living in Langley versus Abbotsford, it is going to be more expensive. Let's first look at what neighborhood rents are currently comparing for. When we're looking at Craigslist or Facebook and we're comparing rents, the first big difference between Langley, British Columbia and Abbotsford, British Columbia is the average cost of rent. When we're talking about renting a single family home, the average rent in Langley was $3,700 compared to what the average rent for a single family home is in Abbotsford was $3,400. Now, when we're talking neighborhood rents, let's look at what the difference between renting a condo would be between Langley and between Abbotsford. The average cost of renting a one-bedroom condo in the city of Langley ranged between $1,900 and $2,300 per month. Now, when we look at renting a one-bedroom condo in Abbotsford, the number is quite a bit lower. The average one-bedroom condo in Abbotsford was $1,700, so it's quite a bit of savings between the two types of accommodations between Langley and between Abbotsford. Now, let's take a look at purchasing a home and what the difference in costs between a detached home, a townhouse, and a condo would be if you're considering making a move to Langley or to Abbotsford. First, let's start with Langley. Now, Langley, of course, is a bigger city. So when we look at the number of listings, the number of sales, of course, it's going to be a little bit bigger. When we look at detached homes, and by the way, these numbers are as current as last month. These are actual numbers of actual homes listed and sold in Langley. This is not ChatGPT or anything like that. When we're looking at Langley for last month, we had an average sale price of just over $1.63 million for a detached home. And when we're talking about detached, it had an average days on the market of 20. There's currently 525 active listings, 233 of those being brand new listings. And last month, we saw a total of 66 sales in Langley when it comes to detached homes. Now let's take a look at townhomes. When we look at townhomes, we had an average sale price just below $888,000 with an average days on the market of 21. There are currently 309 active listings, with 188 of those being brand new. And there were a total of 76 sales for townhomes last month, which is a pretty healthy number. Now let's compare condos. When we're looking at condos in Langley, we had an average sale price of just below $590,000. Average days on the market to sell was 25, and 470 active listings, 219 of those being new listings, and 76 recorded sales for condos in Langley. Now, those numbers are pretty healthy. That's actually up a little bit from the month previous, but it's not at where historic numbers have been. All of those numbers are down a little bit when we look at a 12-month average. So let's compare that to Abbotsford when we're looking at detached homes, townhomes, and condos. Let's start with detached homes. Now, when we're looking at detached homes, the city of Abbotsford had an average sale price of just below $1.27 million. The average days on the market of a detached home was 33. Active listings 465, with 180 of those being new. 51 total sales. So one of the things we're seeing here is there's actually more inventory for this type of product and less sales. And one of the reasons that we're seeing that in Abbotsford is because of the different types of homes that are available. There are a lot more different types of homes, laneway detached homes that are ranchers, detached homes that have basement suites. There's a little bit more different style product to choose from right now. Now let's take a look at townhomes. In Abbotsford, we had an average sale price of $667,000 with 37 days on the market to sell, a total of 246 listings, 105 of those being new, with 32 sales for townhomes. Now that is a fairly low number for Abbotsford. There is also a lot of new townhome construction that happens to be coming. Some of that data also not available on the MLS, so not accounted for in these total sales. Now let's take a look at the condo market. In Abbotsford, we had a pretty healthy condo market for last month with an average sale price of $445,000 with 34 days on average to sell, 343 active listings, 147 of those being new, with total sales of 44 units. And just like the townhome market, there are quite a few new construction condo buildings and condo options. So those numbers are not in these total sales. And I know for a fact, a lot of those new condo buildings are selling fairly well. I know the Sage condo building, for example, in Abbotsford, they're on their third phase, and that one happens to be selling pretty good too as well. Now, part of cost of living is also groceries and spending your money, things like eating out. Now, fast food and eating out, your options are a lot more in Langley. Langley is home to pretty much every restaurant and franchise possible. You see things like the Olive Garden, for example, those types of restaurants that don't exist in Abbotsford. But in Abbotsford, there is a lot of ma and pa, smaller style restaurants that are fantastic places to eat at. There are restaurants like Lou's Grill, which happens to be super popular with residents of Abbotsford. Places like Greek Islands, which happens to be my favorite place in Abbotsford to grab dinner. And some of these smaller pop-up restaurants that are big hype online, like Lully's Hot Dogs and Bob's Breakfast. Really, really popular places to grab food in and around Abbotsford. And when we're comparing Langley BC to Abbotsford, when it comes to eating out and dining out options, the prices are very, very similar between the two cities. Now, moving on in our comparison between living in Langley BC and Abbotsford BC, next on our list is popular amenities. what type of amenities you would use if you lived in those respective cities, including things like shopping. So in Langley, Langley is home to one of the largest malls in the entire Fraser Valley, which is Willowbrook Shopping Mall. Now, Willowbrook Shopping Mall, located on 200th Street and 64th to 200th Street and Willowbrook Drive, that happens to be going under a major renovation right now. Some of those shops going above ground, restaurants like Red Robin, and that shopping mall is going to be home to the future SkyTrain, which is coming in the not so distant future. You also have phenomenal shopping in Langley City. Downtown Langley has a terrific shopping community. Fraser Highway on the one-way happens to be a destination for a lot of boutique-like shops and restaurants too as well. And you of course have historic Fort Langley, which has some amazing ma and pa shops, some great places to grab a bite, grab a pastry, and enjoy a cup of coffee at a lot of different places in Fort Langley. When we compare the shopping to Abbotsford BC, your options are definitely going to be less. There are two shopping malls in Abbotsford. We have High Street Mall, which is the newer one, and that is located off of Mount Lehman. There are stores like Sephora, there is a RW Co., some of the restaurants like Milestones, for example. It is also home to the only movie theater in Langley at High Street. There's the cinemas at High Street Mall, Walmart Supercenter too as well. We have an older mall in Abbotsford known as Seven Oaks. Seven Oaks is located in older Abbotsford on South Fraser Way, and that's where some of the bigger box stores are. Stores like Best Buy and Sport Check and London Drugs can be found over at Seven Oaks Mall. When it comes to culinary experience, dining out, and restaurants, there are a ton of good places to eat in Abbotsford. The choices will not disappoint you. Now, when we're looking at things like parks and rec, I'm sorry, but Abbotsford absolutely does not compare to the city of Langley. In Langley alone, there are 10 arenas compared to Abbotsford's 5, one of them being private. It is not a comparison at all. So if your kids are into things like sports, baseball, hockey, you have much more options in the city of Langley. Now, Langley is also home to the Langley Event Center, which happens to be a state-of-the-art arena, home to the WHL Vancouver Giants and the Fraser Valley Bandits basketball club. Now, the Langley Event Center is absolutely stunning. Not only does it have the ice arena, there are multiple sport courts at the arena, soccer fields, including grandstands that fold out. There's a splash park, a regular park, and it's actually getting an upgrade as we speak with an additional 3 new sheets of ice in Langley. This is an amazing facility. And truthfully, there is nothing in the city of Abbotsford that compares. Now, Abbotsford is home to the Abbotsford Center Ice Arena. Now, the Center Ice Arena is where the Vancouver Canucks Farm Club plays, the Abbotsford Canucks of the American Hockey League. And that arena can hold just over 7,000 people, most of those games averaging around 5,000. It is good entertainment. You can get a ticket to an Abbotsford Canucks game for under $45, but it is not the same type of facility that the Langley Event Center has. Langley Event Center is a much bigger, better facility, especially for youth and minor sports. Now, speaking of sports, when we're looking at comparing Langley to Abbotsford, it does not compare in terms of parks and in terms of amenities like baseball fields. In Abbotsford, there is a shortage of arenas as well as baseball fields. Associations like Abbotsford Minor Hockey and Abbotsford Minor Baseball, for example, have been trying to get the city for years and years to invest some time in those amenities. The good news is there is some light at the end of the tunnel. And just last week, Abbotsford City Council actually just announced a 10-year arena plan. So they are looking for short-term solutions as well as long-term solutions for those important arenas, things like ice hockey, ringette, and figure skating, public skating. As the population in Abbotsford grows and surpasses that 200,000 mark and the city continues to grow, it becomes even more needing those types of amenities, which hopefully are coming in the years to come. Now, moving on to the next comparison between living in Langley, BC and Abbotsford, BC, we're going to talk a little bit about job opportunities. So if you're looking for employment and you're wondering what the options are between living in those cities. Now, one thing you got to remember is the population in Langley is considerably larger. It's estimated to be at least 40,000 more people living in Langley than there is currently in Abbotsford, according to recent census data. And it looks like the city of Abbotsford is on pace to have somewhere around 180,000 residents by the end of next year. Now, when we're talking about job opportunities, let's talk a little bit about the biggest 3 employers in Langley, BC today. Today, we see CKF Incorporated, which is a manufacturing, food, packaging, and processing recycled plastics. This company is a leading manufacturer of molded pulp, foam products, including disposable plates, egg cartons, and food trays. CKF Incorporated has an estimated 750 employees in the city of Langley. Now, moving on to the next biggest employer in Langley, and that is Envision Credit Union or First West Credit Union. There is approximately 1,250 employees across British Columbia. Their headquarters are in Langley. Now, First West Credit Union is the 3rd largest credit union in British Columbia, managing over $18.6 billion in assets, and it happens to be one of the best places to work. They've won a ton of awards throughout the years. Now, the 3rd biggest employer in Langley happens to be Kwantlen Polytech University. Now, Kwantlen College is located just off of 56th Avenue towards the Langley bypass end and where Canlan Ice Center is. It is on the right-hand side when we're heading past the luxury car dealerships in Langley. There's a Porsche, a Range Rover, and it happens to be right on the corner. Now, Kwantlen Polytech University has over 1,000 full-time and part-time staff across all of their campuses. And KPU Langley campus specializes in programs such as nursing, horticulture, and brewing sciences. The university is recognized as one of BC's top employers for 2025, offering a range of academic and research opportunities. It happens to be one of the best places to work in all of Langley. Now, the city of Langley also has a huge hospitality industry, and there are lots of employments in the hotel and food management industries with many different hotels and motels throughout the city. Hospitality remains one of the key employment opportunities in the city of Langley. Now let's take a look at Abbotsford. In the city of Abbotsford, one of the biggest employment opportunities is with Fraser Health. Now, Fraser Health happens to be a huge employer in the city of Abbotsford. Fraser Health is the largest health authority in British Columbia, serving over 1.9 million residents. In Abbotsford, it operates the Abbotsford Regional Hospital and Cancer Center. It's a 300-bed facility providing acute care and specialized cancer treatment. The hospital is a significant employer in the city, contributing to Fraser Health's extensive workforce of approximately 29,000 employees in British Columbia. Now, the second biggest employer in Abbotsford is Cascade Aerospace. And before we get there, the aerospace industry in Abbotsford happens to be one of the biggest employers in the city of Abbotsford. We are home to the Abbotsford International Airport, and it has some big companies that bring in a lot of skilled trades, a lot of engineers. Some of the best engineers in all of Canada come to work for some of these companies in Abbotsford. Now, Cascade Aerospace is a prominent aerospace and defense contractor specializing in aircraft maintenance, repair, and overhaul services. Their headquarters are in Abbotsford International Airport, and the company occupies a over 21,000 square foot facility which accommodates multiple aircraft simultaneously. Cascade Aerospace plays a vital role in the local economy, and it is one of the key employers in the region. I have many friends and family. My kids that go to school have many friends whose parents work for this company, and it is one of the best places to work in Abbotsford, BC. Now, the third largest employer in Abbotsford happens to be the University of Fraser Valley. Now, the University of Fraser Valley is a public university with its main campus in Abbotsford, offering a wide range of undergraduate and graduate programs with enrollment over 15,000 students and faculty, staff completing over 700 full-time staff members. UFV is a significant educational institution and employer in the city of Abbotsford. Now, as mentioned, the aerospace industry in Abbotsford is a big part to the local economy. Another huge part to the economy is the farming industry. Now, Abbotsford is home to some of the largest berry farms in the region. There are a lot of ALR parcels of land that produce corn, tulips, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries all over the valley. And some of the biggest producers happen to be here in Abbotsford, BC. Now, moving on to the last comparison between Langley and between Abbotsford, and that happens to be transportation. Now, when we're looking at transportation, the city of Langley is a lot more involved and a lot more up to date when it comes to transportation. Langley has a fantastic bus community with multiple different routes, whether you're heading from Brookswood into Langley City, into Willowbrook, or you're heading closer to 200th Street and the highway, and you're hopping on another bus to head into Vancouver. The bus and transit system in Langley, British Columbia is really good. Now, we also touched on the future SkyTrain coming to that Willowbrook Mall area, and that SkyTrain project will be completed in Langley within the next 5 years. Now, the SkyTrain will be connecting you in Langley all the way to Vancouver's waterfront and the Richmond YVR. So you'll be able to take a SkyTrain all the way downtown, all the way to Richmond if you're hopping on an airplane. And that is something that is unique to Surrey and to Langley. In Abbotsford, there is no SkyTrain. We do not have future plans at the moment to continue towards Abbotsford. Personally, for somebody that takes transit and lives in the city of Abbotsford, I would love to see something like that within the next decade, but it is currently not on the radar for the city of Abbotsford. Now, Abbotsford does have a couple bus routes that do function fairly well, but because of the landscape of Abbotsford, when we look at East Abbotsford and Central Abbotsford and West Abbotsford, the east is full of hills, so it is incredibly difficult to take public transit to get where you want to go in the city of Abbotsford. Now, if you're getting into Vancouver or you're commuting into Langley by bus, that is obviously not an issue. There are multiple buses that you can jump on from the main bus loop on South Fraser, and you can get into Langley within an hour. Now, Abbotsford is close to Mission, so Mission is home to the West Coast Express, which is kind of an advantage if you're going to be heading into Vancouver, because the West Coast Express is a phenomenal means of transportation. You can cross from Abbotsford to Mission over the Abbotsford Mission Bridge in less than 10 or 12 minutes from almost everywhere in the city of Abbotsford. And the West Coast Express has a great reputation for being reliable transportation into Maple Ridge and into Vancouver. The West Coast Express is very popular from people commuting from Abbotsford and Mission into the city of Vancouver. Now that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video of the comparisons between Langley BC and Abbotsford BC, and if you're thinking about moving to one of those areas, hopefully you can use this information to help you make the best decision for yourself. Now, as mentioned, my name is Joe Pratap, and I happen to be a local real estate agent selling real estate throughout the Fraser Valley. If you happen to have any questions at all about real estate, the easiest way to connect is to click the link right below this video, which happens to take you right to my calendar. You can book a call with me at a time that's convenient for you. Thanks for watching.